904-274-5522. 904-274-5522.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. The sports world keeps spinning, and the local conversation continues. Now, Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Tuesday evening to you, Jacksonville. Our late night show here on Hacker After Dark. Are you kidding me? Where else would you rather be? Ask yourself this question. Where else would you rather be right now at 10:01 Eastern Standard Time on a Tuesday night than listening to Hacker After Dark here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark, the Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us. We have an NBA draft lottery to discuss. We have Western Conference Final Game 1. Not much of a game right now. My gracious, the Denver Nuggets up 18 on the Los Angeles Lakers at halftime. Listen to this stat line for Nikola Jokic, all right? I understand a lot of casual NBA fans here in Jacksonville may know that name, but may not necessarily watch a lot of him because he is in Denver. 19 points, 16 rebounds, 7 assists at halftime. 19, 16, and 7 at halftime for the Joker, and the Denver Nuggets lead the Los Angeles Lakers by 18. We will certainly keep you updated. We'll actually do a little bit of NBA talk coming up tonight. We got some NFL talk, certainly some college football talk as well. Britton Beard, you see him on First Coast News. You hear him every week here on Hacker After Dark. He makes his weekly visit coming up in less than 20 minutes. But as we do every night to kick it off here on Hacker After Dark, we do give you a big deal of the night and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal? What is the big deal?
No big deal. It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
So at about 8:30 Eastern, about 90 minutes ago, the NBA draft lottery was going on. There was one ultimate prize that resides in Paris. Brian Windhorst of ESPN was actually over in Paris doing interviews with the family of Victor Wembanyama when it was decided where he's going to play his NBA basketball. This is what it sounded like. Who gets the prize, number 1 overall prospect? It happened 90 minutes ago on ESPN.
The second pick will be made by the Charlotte Hornets. And that means that the number 1 pick in the 2023 NBA draft goes to the San Antonio Spurs.
The San Antonio Spurs. 25 some odd years, I guess a little less than that, like 22 years after getting Tim Duncan. The Spurs once again get the number 1 pick in the draft. Look, I'm not going to pretend that I know a whole lot about Victor Wembanyama. But what I do know is anybody that covers basketball says this guy is a once-in-a-lifetime player. Listen to Adrian Wojnarowski from ESPN dropping a Woj bomb, if you will, before the draft lottery on how Wembanyama is revered in NBA circles.
This is the most highly anticipated player to ever enter the NBA. And this is maybe not only the greatest prospect in the NBA's history, maybe the greatest prospect in the history of team sports.
That is insanity. Look, and I trust Woj. I mean, I don't watch a lot of French League basketball. I'm sorry. I just don't work that into my daily schedule. Although I have watched some of his games on ESPN because ESPN has gone all in on this guy. Again, this is Woj, right? This is ESPN's main basketball guy. Denmark, play that again to make sure I heard that right. What does NBA circles, what do they think of Victor Wembanyama? Again, this is not hyperbole. This is ESPN's main basketball guy saying this on their network broadcast tonight.
This is the most highly anticipated player to ever enter the NBA. And this is maybe not only the greatest prospect in the NBA's history, maybe the greatest prospect in the history of team sports.
Now, look, the last time I checked, I remember a guy named Michael Jordan, right? I remember a guy named Magic Johnson. There was that LeBron James guy, Shaquille O'Neal. I know we're creatures of the moment, but good grief. Is there any way Victor Wembanyama can live up to that? I mean, the greatest prospect potentially in the history of pro sports? The greatest prospect in the history of pro sports. Whoa. We'll see. I mean, if he's that good, I'm happy San Antonio got him as an Orlando fan. We don't know if they have kryptonite, but only 2 games a year playing San Antonio. By the way, Orlando ended up with number 6 and number 11. They have 2 lottery picks. Thank you to Chicago, as the Magic have fully completed the trade, just ripping off the Chicago Bulls. Orlando gave them Nick Vucevic. Chicago gave them Wendell Carter, a pick that turned into Franz Wagner, and now another lottery pick in this upcoming draft. So the NBA taking center stage tonight as reportedly, or I guess, yeah, it's reportedly, but it's an unbelievable opinion that Victor Wembanyama is the potentially greatest prospect in the history of pro sports. I listened to that earlier tonight, and I did a double take. I said, wow, that is quite a statement. Other news going on in the NBA, how about Doc Rivers out in Philadelphia? Here's what life is like for NBA head coaches in the last week. Mike Budenholzer just won a world championship for the Milwaukee Bucks 2 years ago. Won more games than anybody in the NBA this regular season, was the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, loses in round 1 and gets fired. Monty Williams was in the NBA Finals 2 years ago. Was a 4 seed this year. Great season. They trade for Kevin Durant. Monty Williams of the Phoenix Suns gets fired. And today, Doc Rivers. Unbelievable coach, right? We know how good Doc Rivers is. Philadelphia was the 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. They made it to the Eastern Conference semifinals. Lost in 7 games to the Boston Celtics. Doc Rivers today. Fired. So 3 coaches that were among the top 8 records in the NBA in 2022, 2023 have lost their job. That's outrageous. That is absolutely outrageous. You want to ever wonder who's running the asylum in the NBA? Well, it's the players. If the players don't like you, they're going to get you fired. I remember when Penny Hardaway got Brian Hill fired, right, in Orlando. Dwight Howard got Stan Van Gundy fired in Orlando. It happens all the time. LeBron James has gotten coaches fired. And I believe that whether it's Joel Embiid in Philly, whether it's Kevin Durant, Devin Booker in Phoenix, maybe Greek Freak in Milwaukee, they didn't like the direction. So 3 of the top 8 head coaches in the NBA have lost their jobs in the last 7 days. Pretty crazy times in the National Basketball Association. Boy, crazy times in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Now, some folks have come out this evening and calmed the waters a little bit. But the Magnificent 7, right, is what they're being called. Florida State, Miami, Clemson, Virginia, Virginia Tech, North Carolina, and North Carolina State are not happy. Not happy at all with revenue going on in the ACC. Not happy at all that teams in the SEC and the Big Ten get millions and millions of more dollars a year due to their financial contracts, network deals, etc. And teams in the ACC are sniffing around, reportedly sniffing around, about that grant of rights deal that doesn't expire until 2036 to see if there's any way out of the Atlantic Coast Conference. Now, after a couple of days meeting at Amelia Island, maybe folks are back in line. We're seeing reports now that some of the schools are maybe not as unhappy as what's being reported, whatever. Florida State went public with this like 2 months ago. We talked about it a lot then. When their athletic director goes in front of a meeting, a public meeting that's being filmed, he knew what he was doing, and talking about the financial issues of the Atlantic Coast Conference. So it's just interesting. I don't know where these teams would plan on going. I guess the SEC for some, but again, that contract is so horrible between them and the ACC that it's very, very hard to imagine they would be able to get out. Again, that contract does not expire until 2036. ACC football is just an anomaly, man. I thought there was a time, 4 or 5 years ago where it had finally turned the corner, right? Clemson, Florida State, Miami was doing their thing. You had other teams like NC State, North Carolina, Wake Forest to an extent. But no, it's the same old, same old. It is a mediocre, lackluster football conference that doesn't generate near the revenue of its SEC brethren or its Big Ten brethren, and that affects the teams as a whole. If you're Florida State and you're competing with Florida and Georgia and Alabama and all these places for recruits, and they're getting $20 and $30 million more dollars a year for facilities, for coaching contracts, recruiting budgets, etc., I don't blame Florida State for being angry. That's the main issue here. It's revenue. It's why aren't we getting what Florida and Georgia are getting? Well, one of them or two of them are in the SEC. We're in the ACC, and we're just simply not generating the revenue we need to. So, again, I don't know what the ACC can necessarily do about it, but they got to try to calm down a little bit because half of the teams in the conference, as it's been referred to in the last couple of days, the, quote, Magnificent Seven, not very happy right now. And then one NFL topic before we get back into the world of college football. This happened yesterday. We didn't have time to talk about it last night. I did see some people that were a little bit upset about it. See, I don't have a problem with the whole streaming thing. I thought I would because I don't like change very much, but luckily, I've learned the ropes. My wife is very good with this sort of stuff. So whether it's Netflix or Amazon Prime or Peacock or whatever, I've kind of figured it out, right? Disney Plus, we have all those apps. So I kind of have a pretty good basis for this. As always, Jacksonville, we are streaming on the phone lines. Or streaming on the phone lines. Yeah, well, there you go. Right. I've gotten better, Denmark, since that moment. Absolutely. But did you see the story that came out that the NFL is going to stream a playoff game on Peacock? A playoff game on a streaming service. If you don't have Xfinity, right? I don't know that. I don't know how you get Peacock. I guess there are ways to get it.
It's its own app, and it's through NBC somehow.
Okay, well, so you could obviously get it. I thought Amazon Prime last year, Thursday Night Football, was going to bother me. It really didn't. I just got used to going on the app and going Amazon Prime. No big deal. I have Peacock, so the fact that the playoff game, by the way, I saw a lot of Jaguar fans saying, assuredly that'll be the Jaguar game, right? Jaguars on Wild Card Weekend are going to get relegated to Peacock for the streaming service. But I know a lot of you, at least the ones that I saw on social media, had a problem with it. I do not, which is weird. Again, I normally don't like things like this, but I guess I understand it. Peacock's paying, I think, $100 million for that playoff game. $110 million. Good grief, man. NFL's generating a lot of money by putting that game on a streaming service. But that's the way we are right now. It's the way the world is. You got to adapt. I've learned that. I was the guy that only wanted a cell phone for Facebook, Twitter, and texting and calling. Ask Denmark. Now I'm making videos. I'm doing all sorts of stuff. You got to adapt in today's day and age.
Yeah, you got to learn how to copy and paste.
That's right. And if the NFL wants to put a playoff game on a streaming service, all right, whatever, no problem.
Yeah, really, are NFL fans not going to watch it?
No, but again,
Okay, yes, they don't like it, but again, are they not going to watch it? Yes, they're going to watch it.
Well, yeah, they probably will, but you got to remember something, Denmark. You're 25, right? This is your wheelhouse. You are the age of the streaming service. I'm 39. I'm obviously a lot older than you, but I'm still capable of doing it. If I'm a 55-year-old guy that has a cable package that doesn't know anything about streaming, I mean, it's perception, right? It's how you live your life. A lot of folks that are 25 like you know all about this stuff. A lot of guys that are 55, 60, 65, like my stepdad, my mom, my family, they don't have a clue about this streaming stuff. So it's a lot more complicated for them.
But, I mean, don't you think that Peacock looked at how Prime navigated through the NFL, and they looked at it and said, okay, this worked, this didn't work, and then they know what to do now?
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, no, look, I again, people are going to watch it, but I don't fault people for being upset. I mean, you have to buy all these different sports channels, right? ESPN, NFL Network, all these different things as part of your cable or satellite package. And now that's not even good enough because now you have to go to a streaming service to watch some games. I understand the frustration. It doesn't bother me because, again, I've grown accustomed to it. I have all the apps. I don't know where to find a lot of stuff, but I'm capable of finding the games on Amazon Prime, so I'm assuming I'll be able to find the playoff game on Peacock. But it is where we are going, man. It is where things are happening. Sunday Ticket going to YouTube, right? Same thing. Off DirecTV to YouTube. It is the way the world works now, and it's just interesting that the National Football League is doing this much streaming, and it's only going to continue. It's going to become more and more and more stream heavy as we move on. 641-1010 is the phone number on the phone line and on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Coming up next, Brent Beard. You see him on First Coast News. You get him weekly here on Hacker After Dark. Let's talk a little Florida, Georgia renovations in Jacksonville. What that might mean for the cocktail party for those 2 years or so and maybe beyond. Georgia getting another 5-star quarterback yesterday in Dylan Raiola. Will Kirby ever get tired of owning the world of college football? And, of course, we'll talk about the ACC and some of their current issues. It's a Tuesday night in Jacksonville, Florida. We appreciate you staying up late with us. Hacker After Dark on a Tuesday here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
I'm Jeff Lauderman, right here on the flagship station of the Jaguars.
That's a heck of a catch.
1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Hacker here for the Sausage Dude Sausage. Look, I'm a sausage guy, and the Sausage Dude Sausage is the best sausage I've ever had. The Sausage Dudes use high-quality pork, natural casings, along with love and dedication. You can pick up their 4 terrific flavors, including my favorite, the Italian, at Publix locations all throughout Jacksonville. And a portion of the proceeds go to benefit the Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Florida. Take it from me, the Sausage Guy. Get over to Publix right now to get your hands on the Sausage Dude Sausage.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, it's Prosser here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan will only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money and pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement project. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. So even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness. Say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 904-999-1508. That's 904-999-1508. Or as always, you can visit loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
At the United States Postal Service, we're reinventing our network to help keep your business moving. With new shipping options to deliver better value, greater flexibility to conveniently reach your customers, more confident shipping with new informed delivery features, and new electric vehicles for a cleaner, brighter future. Fast, reliable, perfectly orchestrated. The United States Postal Service, delivering for America. Learn more at USPS.com/movingforward.
Live music is just better, right? Come on out to the Players Grill to see Crucial Taunt on Friday, May 19th. Enjoy discount cocktails while Jacksonville's hottest duo, Sean Taunton and Kristen Campbell, put on a show. Players Grill, where the neighborhood meets.
This is Frank Frangie. Join Dan Hickett and me for All Things Gators, our podcast presented by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, with new episodes every Monday. Subscribe and listen by searching for 1010XL Florida Gators Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or TuneIn.
At Andy's Automotive and Truck Services, they know that your company's fleet is more than just a bunch of cars and trucks. It's your livelihood, your reputation, your pride. So when you need routine fleet maintenance or emergency repairs, Andy's offers after-hours and mobile service to minimize your downtime and keep your fleet running like new. While you care for your employees and customers, rest assured Andy's Automotive will take care of your fleet. Visit the team at andysats.com.
Allentown Mortgage gives you both a fast online application process and an expert mortgage advisor to get you the best mortgage at the most competitive rate in the nation. You can be a number at a big box bank and spend weeks filling out paperwork, or call Allentown Mortgage. Eric summed it up in his 5-star Google review. Allentown knows the mortgage industry. When the big boxes say no, they say yes. The whole process went very smoothly. Get the mortgage experience you want. Go to allentownmortgage.com. That's allentownmortgage.com. NMLS number 103917, 4810 Executive Park, Jacksonville.
Cataracts can take a toll on the quality of a loved one's life. Maybe it's even your parents or someone close to you. Hey, Hicken here. I've been talking to you about Bowden Eye. And it turns out renowned cataract care is right here at Bowden Eye & Associates. Their doctors help those with cataracts feel hopeful, sometimes for the first time in a long time. If someone you love is suffering from cataracts, schedule a visit for a personal consultation. 3 locations to serve you, including the new office on County Road 210 in St. Johns County.
I'm Dr. Mitchell Yass, the most unknown world-renowned expert on pain elimination. That's right, elimination. If you've tried medications, injections, physical therapy, chiropractic, even surgery, and still experience pain, then say yes to Yass. I have successfully used the Yass method for over 30 years to help thousands reclaim their lives. To learn more, call me at 904-906-YASS. Let's end your pain and say yes to Yass.
The IRS has just received $80 billion in funding to hire additional agents for aggressive collections enforcement. If you owe the IRS, now is the time to take action before the IRS comes after you or your business. There's no time to waste. Call J. David Tax Law, a firm right here in Jacksonville, for a no-cost consultation at 904-507-4777. That's 904-507-4777. Or visit jdavidtaxlaw.com. Peace of mind is only a click or phone call away.
Flickering lights and hot switches can be annoying. They can also signal a major problem or electrical emergency. So leave it to the pros and Mr. Sparky.
8 Sparky. Your on-time electrician, Mr. Sparky of the First Coast.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. It is a Tuesday evening, and we are glad you are with us. We are right in the middle of May. Normally this time of year, we're getting ready for summer conditioning, fall camp on the horizon, preseason magazines getting ready to come out. All that is true, but man alive, there is a ton of off-the-field news, recruiting news going on right now in the world of college football. For the very latest, let me welcome in my friend Brent Beard. You see him locally on First Coast News. You also get him weekly right here on Hacker After Dark. Mr. Beard, how are you, my friend?
Well, it's a busy, merry month of May, much busier than we ever thought it would be. And frankly, with the stuff we're going to be talking about is going to be nothing compared to what we're going to get at the end of the month when the SEC meets in Destin, and they are going to be forced to make some real difficult decisions. But for you and me, it keeps college football in the news, and we're glad about that.
Yeah, I'll never complain about that. All right, let's focus on recruiting first. There was a big domino that fell yesterday, and that, of course, five-star quarterback Dylan Raiola, the son of Nebraska All-American offensive lineman Dominic Raiola, does not go to Lincoln. He goes to Athens, like every other five-star seemingly goes to in the world of recruiting. I want to get to that aspect of it in a moment. But first and foremost, Brent, on the quarterback, Raiola, again, one of the best quarterbacks in the land, going to Georgia. Just another huge, huge get for Kirby Smart and the Bulldogs.
Yeah, he's a big quarterback, too. I mean, I've seen 6'3", 220, and even seen 6'3", 230. And that's just basically still in high school. Everybody wanted him. I mean, what you read, particularly from On3, is that Southern Cal, Nebraska, and many others were among the ones who wanted to get him. I mean, you want a big-time quarterback in every class, and that's pretty much what Georgia has done. Now, he played in Arizona as a junior at Chandler, and I understand he's changed some schools, and that is kind of a concern from time to time. He models his game after Matthew Stafford, maybe because he's just about as big as Stafford is. But considered a generational quarterback. Now, look, the way things are going for Georgia, he is Raiola is the new shining toy right now. And in a few months, there'll be another new shining toy among the quarterback room. So he'll be lauded and applauded, and he's the greatest has ever been at this point until the next guy in the class of 2025 comes along, right?
Well, and that's the thing. I was trying to give this some context last night. I'm not going to use the Tebow analogy, but if you're a Gator fan, this would be like maybe Mike Pouncey or Marquise Pouncey having a five-star quarterback that does not go to Florida, that goes to like Southern Cal. I mean, they were very upset yesterday, I think, in Lincoln, Nebraska. Dominic Raiola is revered up there, was an All-American offensive lineman for the Cornhuskers, and his five-star son, who happens to play quarterback, ends up going to Georgia. That one probably hurt Matt Rule and the Cornhuskers yesterday.
Well, I'm sure it did, but look, the reality of it is Rule will probably do well in getting them back to some kind of notoriety, but nothing compared to what it used to be. And the reality is, for the people listening to us, a lot of them never experienced Nebraska and Tommy Frazier in the mid-'90s running roughshod over everybody, and that really being the last time that they were vying for a national championship. In the meantime, they've kind of dropped off the face of the earth, and they're trying to rebuild the program. Fortunately, the fans are patient, and they're willing to give Matt Rule a try, and I do think he will work. But in the reality of it is, if you're 18 to 20 years old, and you know your dad has got the heritage and the pedigree from a traditional school, but you've got a chance to go and play, and by the time he gets there, Georgia may have won 3 national championships in a row. I mean, if you're 18 to 20, tell me where you're going.
That's a great point. And yeah, Nebraska's certainly not what they once were. But, yeah, anytime you have an All-American that has an offspring that's a 5-star quarterback, yikes, you'd like to get that guy.
Sure.
Nebraska was not able to get him. Brent Beard here with us. You see him on First Coast News. You also get him right here on Hacker After Dark. Brent, I brought this up last night regarding Kirby Smart. Look, winning is a lifestyle at Georgia, right? They've got back-to-back national championships. Nothing looks like it's going to stop them from getting to the college football playoff again this year. I think it would be a gigantic upset if they were not one of the 4 teams in the playoff in 2023. When you win this much and when you recruit and it's like shooting fish in a barrel, you get pretty much anybody you want like Georgia's getting. Brent, will there ever come a point, and you know Kirby and you know people around Kirby, where he might want another challenge? I mean, not to say that winning would ever get old or stale, but, I mean, good heavens, he's 29-1. He has top 3 recruiting classes when he gets out of bed every single morning. Will there ever be a time where he says, you know what, I've done everything I could possibly do here, you know, whether it's the NFL or whatever? Is there another challenge for Kirby Smart, you think, in his career?
Oh, I think all coaches go through that, and all coaches would tell you at some point. Now, Georgia, probably because of his roots at Georgia, would be his dream job. But to your point, after a while, do you almost get bored and want to try the NFL? And I don't think he's an NFL fit. He may be down the line. I don't think he is now. But I think that's very possible for a lot of coaches. I think Nick Saban's going through that. I think pretty much any ultra-successful coach has come to that point from time to time to where that winning is not a celebration, but winning is a relief. Look, as you mentioned with their schedule this year, I mean, you can pencil them in Atlanta now. There's not going to be anybody else that's going to Atlanta because no one has this kind of a roster. I mean, Alabama and LSU have a similar roster to Georgia, but I think that's always possible. Look, in the decision he's going to have at some point is he's probably going to have a decision one day of, do I stay at Georgia or do I go to the NFL or do I go to Southern Cal or Ohio State or Notre Dame or some brand like that might get his attention, because we really don't know sometimes in the heart of their hearts where these guys are, but that's always possible, but I don't think it's going to be anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be anytime soon either. I look at what they're doing on the recruiting trail, what they've done on the field, and like I said, good grief, man. I mean, he has pretty much done it all in Athens already, and he's not even 50 years old yet. Brent Beard here with us. Brent, speaking of Georgia, you know, last week Lenny Curry was on 1010XL, the mayor of Jacksonville, and was talking about potential renovations down the line for the Jaguars. And that's what got all the headlines, but of course renovations to that stadium would have an impact with the Georgia-Florida game as well. We know that Georgia, particularly Kirby Smart, has been very vocal in the last year or so about maybe wanting to move that game out of Jacksonville. Now these renovations seemingly are coming sooner rather than later. What are you hearing around the conference as far as what potentially could happen when these renovations take place?
Well, they would either go to home and home as they did 94, 95, or you might go to I'm not sure they'd go to Tallahassee. I could certainly see them maybe going to, and I'm not being disparaging against them. I'm just the people aren't used to that yet, but they very well could. They could go to Orlando. That would be a possibility. And I tell you who else is going to get in the fray of this is Atlanta. You can Mercedes-Benz stadium up there is going to want to jump into it too. My concern is still when that's over, when the renovation's done is what happens after that. Now, obviously, we've got a new mayor coming in, and the last thing you want to do is lose that game if you're the new mayor. But at the same time, number one, I don't agree at all when Kirby says playing the game in Jacksonville hurts his recruiting, because nothing hurts his recruiting. So, I mean, if you just win another game in Athens, just say so. Don't blame playing in Jacksonville hurt your recruiting, because that's just simply not true. And then I don't know if people really realize all that's involved with this. That Georgia's getting $1.25 million. They get some ticket revenue on the game. They get $410,000 to cover travel cost. $400,000 for not setting up temporary north end bleachers, and a percentage of alcohol sales. Now, when you do the math on that, that's a lot of money in it, Hack. But I also believe that, and I do think it's the biggest event in Jacksonville any given year, in that the city, I think the city overpays for the game, but I don't know if you can overpay for that game, in my opinion, but for what it brings here and the notoriety and the money that it brings to this city, I don't think we can afford to lose it here. And frankly, it won't be our fault that we lose the game because of what we offer both schools.
Yeah, to me, the most simple solution would be 2 years of renovations, like you said. Do what they did in 94 and 95. Play 1 year in Gainesville, 1 year in Athens, and in a perfect world, come back. The only difference is in 94 and 95, Ray Goff and Spurrier weren't exactly clamoring for the game to move. And even if Ray Goff was clamoring for it to be moved, Georgia wouldn't care. Now, Kirby Smart can walk on water in Athens, so what he says has much more sway than what anybody else that's worn that head coaching visor has said in recent memories. So that, to me, would give me a little bit of pause, a little bit of trepidation. But the reality is the stadium needs to be renovated. There's nothing you can do about it. And you just hope that after those 2 years of renovations, where each school gets a home game, it can ultimately come back to Jacksonville, say in 2026 or 2027. And I agree with you. Kirby last year at Media Days, that absolute nonsense about how it affects recruiting. He's talking about one weekend every 2 years. That's what he's talking about, because Georgia technically loses one home game every 2 years. And for Kirby Smart to go on live television and to use that as an excuse of why to move the game, to me, Brent, was nonsense.
Yeah, and listen, we also need to bring in the fact here that the contract runs out at the end of this year, but there's an option to extend it through 2025, and they will deal with all that in the contract as it goes along. But it certainly brings up some very interesting situations that, unfortunately, there is no place to have it in Jacksonville other than downtown. So, but anyway, what's going to be fascinating, Hack, is going to be the deals offered from some of these neutral sites are going to be mind-boggling, probably too.
That is the SEC side of things. We'll step aside. We'll come back. We'll get into the big ACC news of the week, which is actually taking place up at Amelia Island. What is going on in the Atlantic Coast Conference? More with Brent Beard as Hacker After Dark rolls on a Tuesday here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
What the?
Jacksonville Sports Radio.
What is this place?
This is 1010XL.
Hey, I know we love our happy hours, but have you been to Mr. Chubby's Wings for lunch lately?
Yep, their new specials are awesome. I eat lunch there all the time.
I went this week and got wings, a drink, and chips for $8.
As usual, the best prices in town. You can't hardly find anyone doing $8 lunch anymore.
I know. I'm saving my money for the weekends with $8 lunch specials.
Save your money for the weekends. Enjoy $8 lunch specials Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. 3 locations serving you for all sports all year. Mr. Chubby's Wings, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. If you've dreamt about a career in radio but don't know where to start, we've got great news for you. 1010XL has partnered with the Broadcasters and Sportscasters Mentoring Group to offer mentorship opportunities with one of our radio pros right here at 1010XL. Visit getintobroadcasting.com to grab your free report and learn about the training and tuition costs. Go to getintobroadcasting.com to grab your free report now.
Men suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, regardless of age or past medical history, you'll see instant results on your first visit at Prime Men's Medical Center. And for unlimited time, your consultation and first treatment are totally free. Call now 904-664-8217.
Are your kids ready to play this summer? Come check out the Y. Summer is a time for kids to explore new things and expand the limits of their imagination. At the Y Summer Camp, every day is a new adventure. Kids can learn about STEM, arts and humanities, athletic sports, outdoor games, and more. Registration is now open, but space is limited, and spots are filling up quickly. Learn more and find your adventure at fcymca.org. Search Summer Day Camp.
This Date in Sports History is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On May 16, 1985, Michael Jordan is named NBA Rookie of the Year, averaging 28.2 points, earning his first of 14 All-Star appearances.
The mesmerizing music of Pink Floyd returns to the Florida Theater May 23rd. Brit Floyd brings their brand new Pink Floyd show, celebrating 50 years of Dark Side of the Moon, featuring their laser extravaganza. Brit Floyd. Brit Floyd. Get your tickets now at floridatheater.com.
Jacksonville has some junk, and J-Dog is removing it. They're here to do the dirty work. You don't want to remove and dispose of large furniture or appliances yourself? Call J-Dog. Here now, proudly serving you, removing junk from your home or business. They can even handle small demolition projects, and they're still donating local items to veterans in need. So let J-Dog do the dirty work for you. J-Dog Junk Removal. Veteran-owned and operated. JDog.com.
Live life to the fullest. You hear that all the time, but it's easier said than done when you're in pain, right? It's Hayes Carlion with QC Kinetics. They are in the business of giving people back their quality of life and providing much-needed relief for chronic joint pain, but doing it in the most non-invasive way possible, using regenerative treatments from your body's own natural biologics. Where is your joint pain? In your knees, hips, shoulders, or back? Well, QC Kinetics concentrates these impactful treatments right at the source of your pain, directly applying healing properties where you need them most. And best of all, you walk into the office and you walk right out after treatment. No surgery, no downtime. And patients are raving about the results. So what does living life to the fullest look like to you? Whatever it is, don't wait one more day. Get started today with a call to QC Kinetics for a complimentary consultation. Call them at 904-274-5522. That's 904-274-5522 with locations in Mandarin and Ponte Vedra.
This is Keith Catlin for Catlin Truck Accessories, and we are so blessed to be in business for over 100 years. Over 100 years of the best product and customer service means you can count on Catlin. From roll and lock bed covers to Lear toppers to cam locker toolboxes, Catlin Truck Accessories has you covered when it comes to your truck or van. We do those too. Got a fleet of vehicles? We can outfit them all.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
One name, one location, 100 years. You can count on Catlin.
Clearwater. John, I can't even mow my side yard. It's so soggy. Man, my builder sucks.
Brent, calm down. This is a common problem in neighborhoods where houses are built too close together. You need gutters and a properly installed French drain that will soak up subsurface water. We can completely dry it up.
So I can take my builder off my speed dial now, huh?
Yeah, we got you, buddy. Let that builder bitterness go.
Clearwater Irrigation and Drainage too.
Honda has done it again with their all-new exciting SUV and truck lineup for 2023. HRV, Pilot, Passport, Ridgeline trucks, and our popular CRV Hybrid. This is without a doubt Honda's most impressive lineup. Visit your local Honda dealer today. We're dealing.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. This is Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM as we continue with Brent Beard. You see him on First Coast News. You also get him right here weekly on 1010XL. Brent, we talked Florida, we talked Georgia. Boy, another big piece of news going on here locally, actually, at Amelia Island. The ACC spring meetings are going on right now, and good heavens, there's a lot of news. The Magnificent Seven is what they're being called. Reportedly 7 schools, including Florida State and Miami, that are sniffing around, potentially thinking about getting out of the Atlantic Coast Conference. What is going on at Amelia Island right now?
Well, the Magnificent Seven is not a Western here, but it's the Clemson, Florida State, Miami, North Carolina State, Virginia Tech, who are really at the point where they want to look at really getting out of the ACC. The one of the greatest blessing and curses at the same time that we've ever seen in college football is the ACC extending their media grant of rights to 2036. Now, what that means is if you leave the ACC, your exit fee is going to be $120 million. But that's not the only problem here. The other problem here is if you leave, whatever money you make, okay, let's just pretend a minute that FSU goes to the SEC. Okay, they're happy about that. Okay, we've broken off, we've gone to the SEC, that's where we want to be. But see, the problem here is whatever money they make between now and 2036, because of that grant of rights deal, still goes to the ACC. That's amazing, isn't it, Hack, when you think about that? So, but, I mean, to me, here's the bottom line is you've got a certain amount of schools who want to get out of the league. They're tired of it. They're tired of being in a mediocre league for football. Now, they've had their moments in the league, and we cover it pretty closely, and I hope they have a resurgence sometime soon. And they did a few years ago, and now they're kind of back where they were. So the question's going to be here is, okay, we've got this grant of rights. We're not happy, so what do we do? Well, we either stay in the league and we grumble, or we could go to ESPN and ask them for more money, which probably won't happen, but they could. As we mentioned a minute ago, they could get out of the league. But the question is that you brought up is, okay, let's say they get out of the league, they're happy to be able to be gone. Well, now where do they go? And are these other conferences pretty happy right now that they would go? Now, look, if Clemson leaves, Clemson would never have any problem being able to pick up the phone and say, we're coming. And that's something to think about. Or they could create their own league if they want to go as a group of 7. There'd be some real issues there. Probably the thing they're going to do and that what they'll get the most immediate success with will be going to Jim Phillips, the commissioner, and just saying, and FSU's been very vocal about this, and saying, look, if we're going to stay in this league, we bring in the most money and we have the most eyeballs on television. We need more money because of that. We don't like this even distribution situation we've got. So that may be the thing that Phillips agrees with that they do, but they're having some very interesting discussions about this. And believe me, the attorneys, I've been told this too, that are looking at this media rights contract to see if there are any kind of loopholes in it at this point. But heck, we can understand the frustration. And in some ways, it's good that they're together. But at some point, if you want to get out of the league, you've got to be able to deal with it. And we say this all the time. Expansion is not dead, it's just dormant. So it is an incredibly interesting situation that bears looking at and keeping an eye on that for a long time.
Final moments here with Brent Beard. We got about 2 minutes to go. To sum it up, what Florida State was complaining about a couple of months ago, and I'll put this in a very elementary level. If you're competing with Florida and Georgia like Florida State is, the SEC schools get a huge amount of money from the conference and the network and everything, and a team like Florida State and the ACC gets mediocre money. And at some point, facilities, recruiting budget, coaching budgets, when Florida and Georgia are getting $15, $20, and $25 million more every calendar year than you are, you're not going to be able to compete with facilities, with coaching, with recruiting budgets. It all adds up, and that's why Florida State is upset. That's why Clemson's upset. Brent, leave us with this, and there's certainly more on this, and we'll talk about it in the coming weeks. The Magnificent Seven's one thing. The 7 other schools in the ACC, I wonder if there's, there's some venom there, because if the 7 leave and want out, well, where does that leave Boston College? Where does that leave Georgia Tech and Wake Forest and all these schools? There's probably some ill will right now, is there not?
Well, there would have to be, frankly. And to your point, the ACC pays their schools about $42 million per year. But the problem is when you look at what the SEC is doing, they're paying their schools, and we're off a little bit in the figures here, but you get the point, about $72 million. Well, you subtract $42 million from $72 million, that's a lot of money in it, Hack, to your point. So, and again, don't know where they may go. I mean, of course, in basketball and baseball is not going to save those other schools if the 7 leave. So, look, this is not behind closed doors. These schools are very vocal about what they want to do, and they either want the revenue fix or they want something different. Because here's what really upsets them too. This is hard to believe, but the Big Ten, the SEC, and I believe the Big 12, they all will renew their media rights deal again toward the end of the decade, before the ACC is able to do it in 2036. And believe me, that does not make the ACC happy at all.
Yeah, 2036. Why that was ever agreed to, I have no idea.
Really?
But it was a bad business practice, no question about it. Brent Beard, you get him every week here on Hacker After Dark. You also see him on First Coast News. Brent, I hit you with a lot. Thank you for the time, my friend. We certainly appreciate it. We'll do it again next week.
And keep looking. In about 3 weeks, we're going to have a preseason magazine in hand, so that creates even more excitement right now.
And that'll be a summer Christmas for Mr. Brent Beard. Thank you, buddy.
My pleasure.
Who's going to win NASCAR's All-Star Race?
Here they come, checker flag!
Find out Sunday night at 7 from North Wilkesboro Speedway. Brought to you by the Plumbers and Pipefitters Local Union 234. From Jacksonville's NASCAR station, 1010XL.
Now is the perfect time to make sure your home is protected from storms by scheduling a complimentary roof inspection with Universal Roof and Contracting. Get $500 off a full roof replacement and $250 off roof repairs. Plus, same as cash financing for 12 months. This offer expires May 31st and restrictions apply. Universal Roof and Contracting, a proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. License number CCC 123-0147, CBC 125-8484.
If you're often tired, have trouble exercising, or your heartbeat feels irregular, you might have atrial fibrillation, or AFib. Left untreated, AFib can put a strain on your heart and increase your risk of a stroke. But the new Heart Rhythm Center at Baptist Health can help. With the latest treatment options for heart disorders like AFib, our team of specialists can get you feeling stronger again. Learn more at baptistjacks.com/AFib or call 904-202-2342.
Hey Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
Trivia Tuesday, $5 Whiskey Wednesday, Thirsty Thursday, Discount Cocktail Friday, live music Friday and Saturday, MLB Baseball every week. Players Grill has something for you all week long. Players Grill, where the neighborhood meets.
Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
The Tom Coughlin J Fund helps families battling childhood cancer, and there are ways you can help. Go to tcjfund.org.
City Rescue Mission provides life-changing support for the homeless. Find ways to get involved at crmjax.org.
The 5-Star Veterans Center of Jacksonville is the place homeless veterans can go to recover, recharge, retrain, and reconnect. Learn more at 5starveteranscenter.org.
Her Song is a nonprofit organization that breaks the cycle of human trafficking through survivor care, victim outreach, and education. Find out how you can help at hersong.org.
The Hometown for Heroes Home Buyers Program helps you get your down payment and closing costs paid. Call to learn more. 574-7180.
If you're involved in a community event and you'd like us to help spread the word, find out how at 1010XL.com.
Business owners know Andy's Automotive and Truck Services for routine fleet maintenance or emergency repairs. Andy's offers after-hours and mobile service to minimize downtime and keep your fleet on the road. Visit andysats.com.
Home of the Jaguars. WJXL FM, Jacksonville Beach.
Hacker here for the Sausage Dudes Sausage. You know I'm a sausage guy, and the Sausage Dudes, Paul and Patrick, make the best sausage I've ever tasted. Their high-quality pork and spices separate the Sausage Dudes from the pack. Try their 4 flavors, including Italian, Polish, Hungarian, and beer bratwurst today by picking them up at any Publix in the Jacksonville area. A portion of their proceeds also get donated to the Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Florida. Try the Sausage Dudes Sausage today, the sausage partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
E.T. here, and y'all know how much I like my brown water, but I ain't gonna lie, it gives me headaches sometimes. So my alternative is Brackish Vodka. This gluten-free alternative to Tito's is 100% local, and all monies stays right here in Duval. Not only does Brackish Vodka make you feel good, but when you support Brackish Vodka, you're also helping local charities. Try it side by side with your favorite vodka, and you will taste and smell how natural Brackish Vodka really is. And when you do, remember who sent you. Come on, somebody.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes, and I said yes to Yas, Dr. Mitchell Yas, and the Yas method. Now I know, you've probably tried medications, treatments, injections, even surgery. Maybe the reason you're still in pain is because they're treating the wrong thing and not addressing the root causes. Well, I know from personal experience, this does happen. But I found the best kept secret in pain elimination, Dr. Yas and the Yas method. Call him today, 904-906-YASS, and say yes to Yas.
When you hear Florida Gators baseball on 1010XL, it's brought to you by Renewal by Anderson, the official window and door replacement partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and Farah & Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars.
Malfunctions in your electrical panel can lead to hazards like fire or power outages, leaving your home at risk. So leave it to the pros and Mr. Sparky.
8 Sparky. Your on-time electrician, Mr. Sparky of the First Coast.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars, protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555, Jacksonville. Hacker, After Dark, on 1010XL.
1 hour down, 1 hour to go with you till midnight tonight here, our late night edition of Hacker After Dark every Tuesday, 1010XL, 92.5 FM. The high school spotlight comes up in less than 15 minutes. Tim Kraus, the head coach of Bishop Kenny, Kyle Doherty, the head coach of Yulee, both will stop by as spring practice wrapping up. In fact, some spring games begin Thursday into Friday, and everybody will play their spring game by the end of next week. And also, we'll go down to Miami coming up at the bottom of the 11 o'clock hour. Kevin Rogers, WQAM Radio in Miami. What a time in South Florida, right? Florida Atlantic and Miami both go to the Final Four of the NCAA basketball tournament. Now you got the Florida Panthers in the Eastern Conference Finals of the Stanley Cup playoffs, the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals of the NBA playoffs. So we'll talk a little Heat, a little Panthers, a little Miami Dolphins as well with Kevin Rogers of QAM Radio in Miami. He's coming up in about 30 minutes or so. Don't ever talk politics on this show about 99.9% of the time. This will be the one rare exception because it has a sports-related feel to it. We have a new mayor, as apparently Donna Deegan has won the mayor's race here in Jacksonville today. Here's the bottom line. I don't care who you voted for. I don't care what your Republican, Democrat priorities are. From a sports sense, now that Donna Deegan appears to be mayor-elect, right at the top of her list, man, needs to be very, very, very close to the top, if not right at the top, is this stadium deal for the Jaguars. Look, celebrate, the victory. You earned it. Great campaign and all that. But whoever the mayor was going to be, and there were two options, it turns out to be Donna Deegan, whoever it was going to be, the number one priority to me, and again, priorities are different for many people, but being a sports radio guy and knowing what the Jaguars and that stadium mean to this community, you got to get a stadium deal done. You got to get a renovations deal done. You got to figure out what's going to happen down there. That, to me, is a huge, huge priority now moving forward for this new administration taking over the mayor's office. So hopefully that happens. Hopefully, that is where we're at. And hopefully we'll be in a very nice, renovated, if not an almost brand new football stadium here in Jacksonville. Won't have to worry about anything like this again for the next 2 to 3 decades. But to me, again, I know some priorities are different. My highest priority for whoever the mayor was going to be is get that stadium deal done, man. That is a big, big deal for this city here in Jacksonville, Florida. More on that as developments warrant. High school spotlight coming up. Tim Kraus, head coach of Bishop Kenny. Kyle Doherty, head coach of Yulee. At the bottom of the hour, we'll go to Miami. Kevin Rogers, QAM Radio in Miami. It is a Tuesday night on Hacker After Dark. We're glad you're with us. It's 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Wait, if I'm
Frank Frangie,
then you?
Lauren Brooks. That is
Hayes Carline,
and that is
Andrew Gibson.
Okay, this is going to sound very strange, but we are in a video game called
1010XL.
It's time to play Fix That Plumbing Problem. What do you do if you have a clogged drain? Contestant 1.
Have my husband try to fix it?
Yeah, right.
And maybe his buddy who lives across the street?
Contestant 2. That's right. Just call the duck.
Clogged drains, leaky pipes, water heaters to slab leaks, commercial and residential. We repair what your husband fixed.
When you're stuck, call the duck. 904-862-6769.
Come to Bowden Eye for all your eye care needs. Hicken here. Did you know that diabetes is a leading cause of blindness and affects up to 34 million Americans? Please don't take diabetes lightly. If you have diabetes, see your favorite Bowden Eye doc and save your vision. Bowden Eye is dedicated to the protection and preservation of the treasured gift of sight. Bowden Eye and Associates. Visit today for your personal consultation. Keeping the First Coast focused. New location now open off County Road 210 in St. Johns County.
Why can't I just speak to an actual human being? I need a new bank.
Well, actually, at One-to-One Financial, communication is not only number one, it's one-to-one. When you call, you get to talk to a real live Jacksonville human, fast, and with someone who's truly concerned about your needs, your security, and finding solutions as a team.
Thank you.
Ready to break up with your bank? Find a real, long-term banking relationship at One-to-One Financial, Jacksonville's hometown credit union. Visit one-to-onefcu.org for more information on opening an account today.
Federally insured by NCUA.
The IRS has just received $80 billion in funding to hire additional agents for aggressive collections enforcement. If you owe the IRS, now is the time to take action before the IRS comes after you or your business. There's no time to waste. Call J. David Tax Law, a firm right here in Jacksonville, for a no-cost consultation at 904-507-4777. That's 904-507-4777. Or visit jdavidtaxlaw.com. Peace of mind is only a click or phone call away. The PGA Championships. Hear updates and coverage of the PGA Championship. Brought to you by Mr. Sparky of the First Coast and MyBookie on 1010XL.
Superior Fence and Rail knows about exceptional customer service. From the first call to the final inspection, Superior's team provides first-class care with great communication, friendly installers, and quality fence products. There's a reason why Superior is the top-rated fence company in Jacksonville. So get off the fence and call Superior Fence and Rail for your new fence today.
When you're on the fence, about a fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
He's a former coach with two sons who played professional basketball. Satch Sullinger's a competitive individual, but his golf game was suffering because of painful joints.
Right, that's real important, the golf game. Right, as we get older, we create these bad habits because we're relegated to hit a certain way.
QC Kinetics used regenerative treatments, all natural healing properties from Satch's own body, to restore those damaged joints and get his golf game back on track.
QC Kinetics Regenerative Medicine is regenerating me, all natural, and that's what I'm about. I'm going to tell everybody why I'm better.
Oh, and by the way, looks like the competitive Satch is back.
We're all in the same boat, and I'm getting better, and I'm watching them stay old.
Go to QCkinetics.com. Get relief and your game back. Call for your complimentary consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 904-274-5522. That's 904-274-5522. 904-274-5522.
Dave Binion here with Zero Res. I love living in Jacksonville, where we have so many families who serve or have served in the military. I am so grateful for their sacrifice to keep us safe. If you have a family member who is on active duty or is a veteran, now is the time to call Zero Res. Right now, get a 25% military discount on everything we clean. That's 25% off carpet cleaning, tile and grout, upholstery, or oriental rugs. Zero Res, spelled forward or backwards, it's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
Hey guys, I'm Daniel Heilman from the brand new Fourscore Golf Tavern. We do elevated food, drinks, and golf simulator fun. If you're looking for a delicious meal or maybe a spot for a client, we have lunch specials every day. Need to entertain a few people from out of town? Easy. Just reserve one of our 4 simulator bays. Lunch service starts at 11 a.m. daily. Located in San Marcos Square, we'll see you at lunch at Fourscore Golf Tavern.
Heading to the beach, looking for eats? ABBQ has you covered. You can grab some to go on your way to the beach or order from our website and get delivery right to your beach access. But why stop there? After a long day playing in the waves, stop by on your way home. Relax in our outdoor backyard or patio. So whether you're looking for a quick bite to go or want to relax and unwind with friends and family, ABBQ is the perfect spot for your beachside cravings. ABBQ, meet and drink with us.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Time now for Hackers High School Spotlight on Hacker After Dark.
And the high school spotlight rolls on here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM as, believe it or not, spring football beginning to wrap up for the Duval County schools. Some of the outlying counties will have their spring games at the end of next week. Boy, spring football came here very, very quickly. With that, let's go out to Bishop Kenny High School. My friend Tim Kraus is the head coach of Bishop Kenny, coming off a very successful year in 2022, looking to duplicate that and maybe more in 2023. Coach, how we doing?
Doing great. Good to be back with you.
Hey, Coach, thank you for the time, as always. And before we look ahead to the future, let's rewind a little bit. Boy, what a win last year over Bowles to win a district championship for you guys. One of the signature wins, I would imagine, for Bishop Kenny football in many, many years. Coach, when you look back on that game and on last season in general, what are your biggest takeaways?
Yeah, just still, so proud of our kids and so proud of our senior class, the group that we're going to graduate as a school here in a week or two. And, just something I think they can carry with the rest of their lives and a point of pride for them, which is great and been great for our school community. So, definitely a lot of positives and a lot of things for us to build off of as we continue to kind of get our program to where we really want to be. And our ultimate goal of moving forward a little bit in the playoffs and seeing where we stack up at a state level.
You and I talked about this a lot towards the end of last year. You've now had some months to kind of reflect on it. When you took over that program, it was a rebuild for you. I mean, that's basically what it was. You didn't admit it at the time, but where Bishop Kenny was when you took over was not where they were accustomed to being, and you did just that. You rebuilt the program to become a district champion last year. Are you happy where you are at this point in your tenure there?
Yeah, I think anytime you look at it from, the years and the struggles that we went through the first year or two, when I came back, I knew that, we're going to, like you said, we're going to struggle a little bit early, but I think, just really happy that I felt comfortable with the way that we did it and the way that we treated kids through that process and, the way that we developed players and, really, really proud of our staff and, where we've got ourselves. But I think this is really one of those big measuring stick years for us too, to have made a jump and now to have, again, another class of kids that are seniors that, now the only thing that they know about Bishop Kenny football is being successful. So, that's the next step for us is making sure that we are able to maintain that high level of play and continue to develop kids at a high rate. And, again, like I said, see how far we can go in the future.
Tim Kraus, the head coach of Bishop Kenny, here with us on the High School Spotlight. Coach, I'm not breaking any news here. You're probably going to have to deal with bowls not once but twice again. Going back to last year, that win over them in that district championship game, from a mental standpoint for your players, how big a hurdle was that to overcome?
Yeah, it's a great life lesson, I think, for our kids, and that, you can achieve a lot of things as long as you put whether it be the past behind you or other areas that you're struggling with in your life. I think for our kids, the message that we tried to share throughout the year and throughout specifically that week, was just the ability to compartmentalize all the things that didn't involve them, all that history of however long that was. It didn't have anything to do with our kids that were on the field that evening. So, I think it's the same step as we go forward. I mean, it goes the same way next year, and that when we go and arrive at that game, we've got another task, and another challenge in front of us. And so I think it's a great thing for our kids and a great lesson for us within our program. But like I said, it's something that, we got to build on, I think, to really validate here.
Coach, final thought on last year before we move ahead to 2023. There are some pros and cons when it comes to Metro and Suburban. And I'm an outside point of view. You're obviously inside, so you might have a different point of view. I'm curious your thoughts. But to me, one of the cons, and I've heard this from a couple of coaches in the area, is just that. It's Metro. Duval County doesn't play anybody outside of Duval County in the postseason. And when it comes to the postseason, you're going to see a lot of games that are rematches from the regular season, which was your situation last year when you had to play bowls again. Do you hope the FHSAA might look at that in the future?
Yeah, well, sadly we didn't have the opportunity to play bowls. Again, we lost in the first round of playing Bishop Moore, and so I think that's where you look at that the setup, and it's interesting because, like you said, there are the pros for me. The travel, obviously saves a lot. For years we were matched up. I know, like in other sports, right now our baseball team just got back from playing out in South Walton, and so the travel part of being able to be matched up with a district in Orlando is really the only one in our region. That only had one team make the playoffs last year, and then also the rest of them being Duval County. I think that's definitely a positive. And then in some ways, I don't really look at the rematch part of it as maybe as big a con as some other people. I think, usually one of the more challenging things about being in the playoffs would be going to play teams that you didn't have any crossover film on, that you didn't really know. And especially for this side of the state, we ended up playing teams out in the Panhandle that are 5-6 hours away. So you don't really get a great feel for who they are and who they've played and common opponents. So, I like it. I like the ability to potentially have some rematches, and I think that's, obviously a good thing if you're playing well, and a good thing if if your coaching staff does a great job. I do think it's a challenge at the state level. In Metro, that's a little bit different. But it's been interesting. We'll see. Again, I think all of it is kind of year to year dependent. I think there may be some years where Duval County may be down, and it may be a great thing. Just like I know that's the people probably in South Florida right now are saying it's a terrible thing because they've all got to beat each other up in region play. So, pros and cons to both. Just tell me who we have to play and what we got to do to get prepared, and we'll try.
Tim Kraus, the head coach of Bishop Kenny. Coach, there is no doubt one of the best players in the area coming into 2023 is your quarterback, James Reeser. He committed to Iowa back in September. He's back for his senior campaign. When you have a quarterback like James, who's played so much football for you, is a Division I commitment like he is to a Big Ten program, I mean, how much of an advantage, how much of an advantage is that for you to have a quarterback like him that has so much experience in your program?
Yeah, anytime you have a signal caller that's been around for a long time, you've got a pretty good chance. And then especially when you have a kid as talented as James is, you feel really great about it. And it's been really fun with him. I think, as you kind of go into people's senior year, you kind of think back relationally too, and watching kids grow, watching James come in as the summer after his 8th grade year, going into his freshman year, and the growth that he's experienced over that period of time has been really fun to watch, and really excited for his senior year. And I think he's done a great job of embracing kind of the responsibility of being one of those guys, being a guy that people look at and people around our school obviously know and are familiar with, and know that he's been here for a long time, doing it for a long time. So really exciting for us and for our program, and really exciting for me personally, just watching him over the course of his time coming in here from his middle school days until now.
Coach, as spring football winds down, have you accomplished everything you wanted to accomplish when you laid out your spring football plan? Have you accomplished those goals so far?
Yeah, we've done a great job. We've got a really nice 2 weeks here so far. Some people start a little earlier. We play on the 24th, so we weren't able to start until May 1st. And, I think if you look at your goals, I think to me those goals are never really about, winning a spring game or any of those kind of things. It's more, do we get the kids evaluated that we needed to get evaluated and make sure they're in the right positions for the fall and for the summer. And, I feel like we've done that. I feel like we've gotten a lot of good reps for some younger players too. I think if you look at our group of kids from the JV that we've brought up, we had some guys that we needed to see whether or not they could play, and they've done a really nice job of fitting in and felt really comfortable with the way our staff has kind of planned out those reps and planned out practice to give everybody an opportunity. So it's been fun, and it's been great to get back out on the grass, and then hopefully we play well here in a week and a half.
Final moments here with Tim Kraus, the head coach of Bishop Kenny. Coach, what's the plan for next week? Who are you playing, and what do you hope to get out of the spring game?
We're playing St. Augustine High School and Mandarin in a jamboree, so that'll be a great, there's 3 Power 5 quarterbacks in that game, and I just happen to have the Times Union up here and scrolling through all these great players that Mandarin has. So, it'll be a challenge for us, but I think it's a great thing, for our kids to see that in spring football. The level of play, the type of program that we want to be, how competitive we want to be. You've got to put yourself in those situations and challenge yourself. I think spring's a great time to do that. So, been friends with Coach Braddock and with Coach Bullock at Mandarin for a while. So it's always a good opportunity to be around some well-coached football teams and give our kids a chance to see some real athleticism and some speed and hopefully play a physical football game.
Tim Kraus, the head coach of Bishop Kenny, coming off a district championship last year. Hopefully more of the same coming up here in 2023. Coach, best of luck in the spring game. It will not be long at all before we're talking to you under the Friday Night Lights. Appreciate you, my friend.
Can't wait. Appreciate you. Thanks.
And again, thank you to Tim Kraus, the head coach of Bishop Kenny, for joining us here on the High School Spotlight. From Duval County up to Nassau County, spring football going on at Yulee High School. That's where head coach Kyle Doherty and the Hornets are getting ready for the 2023 season, coming off a playoff berth in 2022. Coach, how we doing?
Good. How are you?
Coach, we're good. Thank you for the time. And all right, it's been some months since you and I chatted. I came out there for Hackers High School Spotlight High School Football Tour last year, and was a good year for you guys back into the postseason. I know you were one of the last teams to get in, but what a great experience, learning experience that must have been for your kids to play in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, no doubt. Like being able to build that thing up from where it was and to the point where now we were competing. We felt like we were really competitive in our district. Our 2 district losses, we lost the district championship by a total of 4 points in 2 games. And then being able to play a tough Baker County team at their place in the playoff was a good experience for us overall. I mean, we got a bunch of good kids that are doing a great job getting prepared every day. And I think it's just led to us having a good off season to get ready for this next one coming up.
You mentioned the district. Yeah, the game against Baldwin last year, the games against Baker County last year, very, very competitive. Is that the message this off season? Competitive is nice, but you got to find a way to win those games in the fourth quarter?
No doubt about it. That's been the focus the entire season in the weight room, on the field. It's no longer about being competitive with Baker County and Baldwin. No longer about being competitive in the district. It's about winning the district and winning those games, overcoming that hump.
And you look at that district and really that entire bracket for locally, it's you guys, Toccoa Creek, Baldwin, Bradford County, Baker County, Palatka. I mean, there's a lot of really good teams that are kind of meshed all in there, Coach, that you're going to probably have to see these teams once or even twice if you make it to the postseason.
There's no doubt about it. There's a lot of talent in this area, especially in that 2S bracket. I think we probably, arguably us in that Bradford district is probably the toughest 2 districts in there. There's a lot of good football being played. Just hoping that at the end of the day we can be one of those 8 again.
Yulee High School head football coach Kyle Doherty here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Coach, your spring game comes up this Friday night, so you guys are wrapping up spring football out there at the Hornets' Nest. Have you got accomplished what you hope to get accomplished here in the month of May?
Yeah, and our first couple weeks of practice and our preparation for this spring game, I feel like we have accomplished some things. There's a lot of good things that we've gotten to. Working on develop some of those young JV talent. We had a good JV offense last year. It was a really potent offense, scored a lot of points in situations and in some of our JV games. And trying to get them caught up to the varsity level and being ready to play there is, it's why they play JV, get that development aspect. They've done a phenomenal job. Defensively, we knew kind of what we had already. We only graduated a few pieces. And we've done a good job implementing some of the little tweaks and philosophies into our defense just to try to get us to play at a higher level. And they've done a great job, man. Our defense has been phenomenal all spring.
Now, you guys, if memory serves, last year had a lot of senior leaders. And I remember talking to a couple of those guys, including your quarterback. They have since moved on. One, I think your safety went to FIU, right? You had some guys go to Valdosta State. You had a wide receiver go to UConn. I mean, you had some talent last year. The problem now is you have to replace that talent. How has that gone about this spring in replacing some of those key guys that you lost?
I mean, that's well in place to happen. And I mean, it's still at the end of the day, it's still high school football. We're going to miss the presence of Zach and Chris and Jai and Landon and those guys that did a lot of things for us last year. But at the end of the day, the younger guys are still developing at a higher rate. We're in our 3rd year of the system. I expect a little bit of a smooth, I'm not necessarily saying that we're going to be overly potent on offense, but there's going to be a smoother transition than you would expect. Our guys have been playing in it a little bit. Our receivers that are going to be juniors next year, we have a group of fast kids that can really run. They're played in it for 2 years now, so this will be their 3rd year. It's a lot less learning curve and a lot more of being able to just teach them the game of football. So I think we're in a good spot. Our kids are getting strong. There's a lot of focus in the weight room. Got a lot of dedicated kids. We're gonna miss those seniors and what they provided to us. But everyone's gonna have the same issues that we're gonna have, right? Like everyone's gonna lose guys. Everyone's gonna have guys step up. And I'm just really pleased with the way our guys have stepped up so far in spring.
I told anybody that would listen last year, look, I made 10 of those stops on Hackers High School football tour. I was really impressed with what I saw out there, not only by you and your staff, how involved you guys were in the practice aspect of things. There was a lot of really good teaching going on out there. Now that you are obviously one of the more established guys in the area with all the turnover we've had, I think we've had 30-plus jobs turned over in the last 2 years. Are you happy with where the program is? Are you happy with where you have it now and the direction you're going in?
Yeah, most definitely. There's a lot of guys that are at the middle school that I'm really pleased with. We talk football all the time. We have a really good connection on what we want to accomplish, how we accomplish things together. Trying to tie in some of the youth programs in as well. There's just a lot of football conversations that we have together. So I think we're going to speed up the learning curve for us. We're starting to do things in a similar manner as an entire program, and I think that's what's going to help us out in the future. And then on top of that, like our program we've got a lot of talented kids in Yulee. I mean, that was never the question here. It was about keeping them in Yulee and not letting them get out of the borders of Nassau County. So I feel like we're in that direction, and we have talented groups coming up. Like, so this thing is viable for quite a few years. There's a lot of talent in this area. Our middle school is going to be talented. Our freshman class this year coming in is very talented. They've got quite a few kids that have been able to come out to spring practice that have looked really good.
Final moments here with Kyle Doherty, the head coach of Yulee High School. Coach, you ran Nassau County last year. I think you won those games in like 4 days with all the hurricane postponements and whatnot. That's a big deal, right? When you guys play West Nassau, you guys play Fernandina Beach, you want to win those football games. A lot of bragging rights up there.
No doubt about it. Two most important games of the year. For everybody here, to me, it's the district games, but those two games matter, man. Everybody here really cares about that Fernandina and West Nassau matchup. They care about what the result is. I'm just glad that, our kids focus in and get the job done. I think we lacked a little bit of intensity in our details at the end because we played Episcopal 3 nights before we played Fernandina, and then West Nassau 4 nights after that. So, just having, that big rivalry game on such a short day was really tough. And tough on the mindset of the kids, but I'm just happy with the way that they turned it out, and 2 years in a row we won both of those games against both of those teams, and those are good football programs and good teams. Like West Nassau, even though their record was what it was, like that's a good football team. That's a good tradition football program. They do a great job with all of those kids, and Gunner's going to do a great job there this year. And Apollo's a really good seasoned coach. He's going to make it difficult on everybody. So, I'm looking forward to that matchup again. Just hoping that our kids are mentally ready for the task at hand.
Yeah, there's no doubt Nassau County football is certainly getting better. Coach, leave us with this. Your spring game is Friday night. It's going to be a round-robin situation. You guys, Tacoy Creek, and my alma mater, the Wolfson Wolfpack. What are you hoping to accomplish Friday night? What do you want to see out of your kids?
I'm just looking to see if, the philosophical changes that we've made and adjustments to practice show up on Friday night. That's what I'm looking for. I want us to play fast. I want our defense to fly around more than they were last year. I want to see some improvement in those aspects. There's some schematic change. There's some schematic adjustments that I hope that we can execute, give us some faith and some confidence going into the regular season in August. But and then offensively, I'm really looking to see us just find a rhythm and be on time and on schedule with what we're trying to accomplish. Got a young quarterback, did a really great job on JV for us last year, threw 10 touchdowns in 4 games. But just want to see him kind of mature in that role and own that group to moving the football consistently and finding those positive plays and getting us into situations where we can find ways to manufacture points, whether it's, punting the ball in a good situation, putting our defense in good hands, or, taking advantage of short fields.
They're coming off a playoff berth in 2022. They're looking to get back there in 2023. The Yulee Hornets head coach Kyle Doherty. Coach, thank you for the time. Best of luck in the spring game Friday night. We'll be talking to you very shortly, my friend.
I appreciate it.
The future is looking better.
The future's so bright, I gotta wear shades.
I gotta wear shades.
The home of Jaguars fans. 1010 XL.
Men, if you're struggling with erectile dysfunction or PE and frustrated taking pills that don't work, Prime Men's Medical Center offers breakthrough medical treatments that effectively treat your problem. 98% of patients experience immediate results during their first office visit. And for a limited time, your initial consultation and first treatment are completely free. Listen to a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Rubinsky. The physicians at Prime Men's Medical Center offer the most advanced treatments that eliminate ED and PE. Now men are lasting 30, 60, 90 minutes or longer, regardless of age or medical history.
Guys, to eliminate your frustration in the bedroom, call Prime Men's Medical Center now to take advantage of this exclusive limited-time offer. Your initial consultation and first treatment are totally free, and you'll see instant results right in the office. Call now, 904-664-8217. 904-664-8217. That's 904-664-8217.
The Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute is now offering online scheduling for new patient appointments for all of their physicians. Simply schedule your appointment on your cell phone, tablet, or desktop. JOI is the first orthopedic practice in North Florida to offer this feature to patients. To schedule your appointment online, visit joi.net and click on the button at the top of the page. If you'll be using insurance, be sure and have your information handy. JOI, where the pros go.
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering professional-grade industrial supplies, plus real-time product availability and access to experts ready to answer your toughest questions. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Children under 5 die from drowning in Florida more than any other state. Together, we can reduce the risk of drowning. The YMCA has programs accessible to families that teach essential water safety skills. Face the water with confidence. Learn more at watersafetyflorida.org.
Enjoy lunch with XL Primetime this Thursday, May 18th at the Players Grill off Hendricks Avenue. Get $3 Miller and Bud Lights while hanging with Joe, Matt, Mia, and Leon. The Players Grill, where the neighborhood meets.
Tobacco-Free Florida has many free ways to help you quit nicotine. From free 2-week starter kits of Quit Aids to free cessation services like Phone Quit and Group Quit. We're even trying out new motivational tactics.
You're the greatest quitter. He's tobacco's greatest quitter. He's tobacco's greatest quitter of all.
Or maybe we'll just stick to the ways we know work. Visit tobaccofreeflorida.com or call 1-877-YOU-CAN-NOW for free nicotine patches.
Hi, Kevin here with Armor Guard Exteriors and Gutter Helmet. It's time to start your springtime projects. Don't wait. Our suppliers are ready to deliver gutters, gutter protection, retractable screens and awnings, window replacements, and glass on ice. So let's get started on your home improvement projects now and receive 18 months, 0 interest, and no money down. Call 904-906-8669.
Mesmerizing music of Pink Floyd returns to the Florida Theater May 23rd. Brit Floyd brings their brand new Pink Floyd show, celebrating 50 years of Dark Side of the Moon, featuring their laser extravaganza. Brit Floyd. Brit Floyd. Get your tickets now at floridatheater.com.
Jacksonville has some junk, and J-Dog is removing it. They're here to do the dirty work. You don't want to remove and dispose of large furniture or appliances yourself? Call J-Dog. Here now, proudly serving you, removing junk from your home or business. They can even handle small demolition projects, and they're still donating local items to veterans in need. So let J-Dog do the dirty work for you. J-Dog Junk Removal. Veteran-owned and operated. JDog.com.
This is Keith Catlin for Catlin Truck Accessories, and we are so blessed to be in business for over 100 years. Over 100 years of the best product and customer service means you can count on Catlin. From Roll-and Lock bed covers to Lear toppers to Cam Locker toolboxes, Catlin Truck Accessories has you covered when it comes to your truck or van. We do those too. Got a fleet of vehicles? We can outfit them all.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
One name, one location, 100 years. You can count on Catlin.
Survey says
because 1010XL wants to know more about you. Take the listener survey to tell us what you like. You could win tickets to see the Sharks and Jumbo Shrimp or golf at Hidden Hills Golf Club. Just take the survey at 1010XL.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars, protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville, it's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. Boy, it has been the sports year in South Florida, from Florida Atlantic and Miami, both making the Final Four of the NCAA tournament, to now the Florida Panthers in the Eastern Conference Finals in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals of the NBA playoffs. What a year in Miami. For the latest, let's go to our friend Kevin Rogers. He's one of our guys in Miami. He works for the Florida Panthers radio on 560 WQAM, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Kevin, how we doing?
Ryan, it's you said it all there. It's been a very eventful last few months. Now we just need the Dolphins to play well in the fall. We'll be all set.
Well, that's the thing, right? You talk about the great sports year in South Florida. None of this has anything to do with Miami Hurricanes football or the Miami Dolphins yet. We may end with the Dolphins here in a moment, but let's start with the lead, and that's the Heat and the Panthers. To the Miami Heat first. You go through Milwaukee. You go through New York, the third Eastern Conference Finals in 4 years. Boy, what a run for Jimmy Butler and this basketball team.
It's really unbelievable. I mean, when you look at what they did just to even get in the playoffs, they won the Southeast Division, but yet were blown out by the Hawks in that first game of the play-in tournament. You're like, okay, now you got to beat Chicago just to advance. They were down with 2 or 3 minutes left in that game before they went on a run to beat the Bulls and knock them out. So the Heat were almost on the verge of not even making the playoffs when it was all said and done. And just the job Eric Spoelstra's done, you know, nobody can say now that Spoelstra was only successful because he had LeBron and Wade and Bosh. He's a great coach, and Pat Riley picked the right guy to succeed him. Years ago, Spoelstra's done a great job. They find ways to win really without superstars. I mean, yes, Jimmy Butler's a star, and they find other undrafted players that fit the system. It's called the Heat culture. They find a way, and yet they've done this every single year. They're always a threat in the playoffs. Jimmy Butler, what he did against Milwaukee was very impressive. Now, granted, I understand Giannis was hurt in that series. He missed actually the one game Milwaukee won. Giannis didn't play, but I don't know what was up with the Bucks there, if he just wasn't healthy, whatever the case was, but the Heat shot lights out in that series. Made a lot of strides this year, but also the Heat are a better team than the Knicks. So I guess you can't really judge a lot on this past round because I don't think the Knicks were ever a threat to win the Eastern Conference. But now getting the Boston Celtics, who they're very familiar with, they went 7 games with them last year, lost at home in the Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. This is definitely a major step up from the Knicks, and maybe even from the Bucks, a little bit of a step up. So this will definitely be a tough series, to say the least, for the Heat.
You know, I want to talk about Jimmy Butler in a moment, Kevin. Again, Kevin Rogers here with us. But quickly to your point on Eric Spoelstra, I had a conversation last week here on the radio about the most underrated coaches of our lifetime. And I think Spoelstra may come off that list sooner rather than later, because I agree. I don't believe he's underrated anymore. I think finally people understand what Eric Spoelstra is all about. He is a terrific basketball coach, and he's going to end up one day in the Basketball Hall of Fame.
100%. He will be in the Hall of Fame, and when you look at even like the LeBron argument, how many times has LeBron played under a coach and that coach isn't with that team anymore? You know, you look at Mike Brown, the coaches. I mean, there's the other guy, David. I'm blanking on Dave. I forgot the guy. The other guy from Cleveland they had there. But you had all of these guys that had him, and then something happened. They went elsewhere. But yet Eric Spoelstra is still there regardless, and they have not had really a bad season, the Heat, in a very long time. Since even before Spoelstra got there, they have not had this horrible season. Maybe they've missed the playoffs, but they have not been that bad ever really under Eric Spoelstra, and they've gone through LeBron for 4 years. He was gone. Jimmy Butler comes in a few years ago, and it's almost like Jimmy Butler kind of hit the reset button on his career because he was bouncing around and people thought, well, maybe, he's a problem, and he was in Minnesota and Chicago and Philadelphia. They can never do anything and go far, but yet he's gone to the NBA Finals with the Heat, and he's been on the verge of the finals last year. Now, again, this year, obviously, maybe those situations weren't right for him, and the situation in Miami works very well for him. So, Jimmy Butler, I don't know if he'll ever be an MVP in this league. Probably not. He's an all-star, and he's the face of this franchise. And since Dwayne Wade is always going to be the featured face of this franchise forever. He will always be that. But Jimmy Butler, I feel like, when it's all said and done, when you look down the line at Heat basketball, Jimmy Butler will be a top 5 face of this franchise when it's all said and done, just because of the things he has done. When you look at this team, he doesn't have any other real superstars to play beside him.
Yeah, you led me right to it. I mean, I think the LeBron Heat out because that was such an anomaly what happened there. I agree with you. Dwayne Wade will be number one. It's going to be hard to ever supplant him. Alonzo Mourning, I think, is certainly in that debate. But my goodness, when you think of Miami Heat basketball now, Jimmy Butler and what he's done there, again, a third Eastern Conference Finals trip in 4 years, unbelievable the value Miami got. In Philadelphia, the fact that they let Jimmy Butler go is unfathomable to me at this point.
Well, I mean, I hate to be as blunt as I'm going to say, but Philadelphia is a circus up there with everything they've gone through with Ben Simmons, and then now the way they exited, losing to Boston, and even with Doc Rivers, they thought he was going to be the answer, and they've lost these closeout games with him as coach. That the best thing that happened to Jimmy Butler was getting out of Philadelphia, and even looking back and going back to the point about faces of the Heat. When you think back, I mean, the franchise has only been around since 1988. They had some lean years at the beginning. But when you go through, Alonzo Mourning, Tim Hardaway, Glenn Rice, then when they got Wade and Shaq, was obviously a huge thing for them. With LeBron and Bosh, I mean, I hate to say this, I don't even consider LeBron like a top 5 face of the franchise over the years. There's other guys that I feel like are more associated. Like you look at, again, Jimmy Butler is probably, one of those, but it's still, the Heat have done a great job of switching the roster over the years, still keeping the same head coach, and yet they're still successful. They're still in it. You know what it is, Ryan? They're still relevant. That's what it is. They have found a way to stay relevant over the past 13 years or so, and always just be there, and yet they still are never in that discussion of, obviously the Warriors won all those titles, but it's like they drop off a bit because they don't have that star power, but yet they're still always there, always relevant all these years.
A couple of more for Kevin Rogers, QAM Radio in Miami. Kevin, final basketball topic. It is Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals. Tall order for Miami, but they're an 8 seed that have made it to the conference finals. They're not scared of anything at this point. What's your early thought on the Celtics and the Heat?
I just don't know how they're going to beat the Celtics 4 times. I really don't. Not to say that they can't push them a little bit. Maybe it goes 6. Boston, yeah, they were on the ropes against Philadelphia, and it seemed like even in Game 6 that they were done until Jason Tatum finally, got hot over the last few minutes, and then in Sunday's Game 7, forget it. Boston ended up running them out. But this Celtic team, I think after what happened last year, losing to Golden State, they know that they were on the doorstep, and they had opportunities in that series. That now with Golden State getting knocked out, I'm sure they feel like they can beat Denver. I'm sure they feel like they can beat the Lakers. That Boston, this is kind of like an unfinished business thing with them, and the Heat are playing with house money at this point. I want them to win, but I don't think the Heat will end up winning the series.
So an 8 seed in the basketball goes to the Eastern Conference Finals. You go to hockey. The Florida Panthers just snuck in. They trail 3-1 to the greatest regular season hockey team maybe ever in the Boston Bruins. They eliminate Boston in Game 7 in overtime at the TD Garden, then just rip the heart out of Toronto last week in Game 5 in overtime to eliminate them. First time in the conference finals for the Panthers since the days of the Beezer, right? John Van Beesbrook back in 1996. What has this run been like for you and for that Florida Panthers organization?
It's really amazing. And first of all, I think a lot of people forget that the Panthers, they won the President's Trophy last year. They had the most points in the NHL. And for whatever reason this year, when they made the coaching change, they brought Paul Maurice in, who had a lengthy resume. It took a little bit of time. You know, the team didn't get off to a great start. And it kind of felt like, all right, disappointing. And, you know, but they somehow caught fire. They were done. In March, they were done. I did not think this team, forget about the Stanley Cup final or Eastern Conference final, I didn't think they were going to the playoffs. And they, in March, when Sergei Bobrovsky was hurt, Alex Lyon came in, who was a guy from Yale who played sparingly at times for the Panthers. He was the savior of the season. They won at Toronto in overtime, and that started a 6-game winning streak and got them back into the playoff run, in the playoff race in the Eastern Conference. The Chicago Blackhawks, who had nothing to play for, who have the number 1 pick in the draft, they somehow beat Pittsburgh on the road, the final or the second to last game of the season, and that vaulted the Panthers over the Penguins to get them in. So the Panthers barely got into the playoffs. They faced Boston, like you said, 65 wins in the regular season. I don't know if Boston peaked too early or whatever the case was. Boston is unbelievably talented, but the Panthers found a way to win Game 2 at TD Garden. They lost 2 at home. The Bruins played really well down here to go up 3-1, and then the Panthers won Game 5 on the road in overtime. Matthew Tkachuk scored the game-winning goal, and it just kind of felt like, okay, the door's a little bit open here. Going back home for Game 6, they won Game 6 7-5, and then Game 7, you know what could be. Anything can happen. They were up early. Boston came back, took the lead, and you're like, all right, this is done. It was fun. Panthers tied it late, then won in overtime. Carter Verhaeghe, who scored the game winner last year against Washington in the opening round, or the series winner it turned out to be. Same thing here. The biggest thing for the Panthers is avoiding Tampa Bay. They got knocked out by Tampa Bay each of the last 2 years in the playoffs. And I felt like I'd rather play Boston than Tampa Bay. I'd rather play Toronto than Tampa Bay, just because they have all these problems with them. They just can't figure out how to beat them, that I would take my chance with anyone else just because, and they were very fortunate that Tampa Bay lost to Toronto. So they got Toronto. They won the first 2 on the road. They ended up losing Game 4, but then won Game 5 in overtime. But they have now 6 wins on the road in the playoffs, 3 in the first round, 3 in the second round. Carolina is going to be very tough. They always have problems in Raleigh, but this is not going to be an easy opponent. But at the same time, it's like the Heat playing with house money at this point. If they lose, they lose. But it's an unbelievable run of what they've done that it feels like they've had no business being here. But on the flip side, they're still a very good team that had 120-something points last year, and it feels like they're forgotten in a sense.
Final moments here with Kevin Rogers, QAM Radio in Miami. You know, Kevin, you talk about Tampa Bay. We know about that fan support when times are good with the Lightning. What about the Panthers and in South Florida? It's the first time in the conference finals in 27 years. I go back to when they were throwing the rats on the ice. I had the John Van Beesbrook poster in my room when I was 12 years old. I was all into it. What about now? How has that community, that fan base rallied around this team?
What's so interesting is I was at all but Game 4 against Colorado, the triple overtime game that they lost. I was at every single home playoff game in 1996 when they played at the Miami Arena, and it was still, to me, the best sporting experience that whole stretch of my entire life, more so than what the Heat did with LeBron and Wade and Bosh. But when they moved to Broward County, to Sunrise in like 2000, the Panthers became more of a Broward County team, where the Heat are more of a Dade County team because they play downtown, and the Panthers are in Broward. They have a lot of support, I feel like, from the Broward County community. I don't really know about it in Dade, but I feel like the Panthers have their base. And, you know, you hear the jokes about people like, oh, it's Florida, you know, who cares? Like, no one cares about hockey. Well, you know, sorry we're not in Toronto or Philadelphia or Boston, but there are people that do care about them. And it may not be like life or death like it is with those teams, but there's still a very strong fan base here. And look, it does take them to get to the conference final, I'm sure, for people to really pay attention. The only thing that kind of isn't good, which is like, you don't want to say this, but because the Heat are also in the conference finals too, the attention is diverted where it's not like the whole city or the whole area is in on the Panthers, because the Heat are still ahead of the Panthers as far as interest. So that's the only thing that's kind of bad about this whole run, is that, oh, the Panthers have to compete with the Heat in a sense. But, it's still good for South Florida. And with FAU and UM going to the Final Four in college basketball, granted, I know college basketball isn't very big down here. There's been success, but nothing will ever top the Dolphins if they make a run to the Super Bowl. Like that's the problem with this, is that these are all great stories, but they all pale in comparison to if the Dolphins ever made a run to go to the Super Bowl, because they are by far, they will always be the biggest thing in this town no matter what.
Kevin, let's end with that. About 90 seconds. What is the thought on the Dolphins heading into this season?
I mean, look, now you got Aaron Rodgers in the division. We'll see what the Jets are about. Obviously, the Bills will still be very good. The AFC East will not be, an easy road. It's all about Tua's health, seriously. If Tua can find a way to not get hurt and the concussions that plagued him last year, if he could find a way to be healthy, they played well when he was healthy last year. They could win 10, 11 games, and who knows what happens if they get into the playoffs. But it's all about Tua's health. He's healthy. This team has a shot.
Kevin Rogers, QAM Radio in Miami, as the Heat in the NBA Eastern Conference Finals and the Panthers in the Stanley Cup Eastern Conference Finals. Fun times ahead for the fans down there in South Florida. Kevin, always appreciate the time, man. Thank you. We'll talk again soon.
All right, Ryan. Thank you.
And thank you to Kevin Rogers, WQAM Radio in Miami, for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. As what a year it's been for the sports fans down in South Florida. You had Florida Atlantic and Miami both reach the Final Four of the NCAA basketball tournament. The Miami Dolphins have added a lot of really good pieces this offseason, including Jalen Ramsey to that defense. And now the Miami Heat are in the NBA Eastern Conference Finals. That gets underway tomorrow night, Game 1 against the Boston Celtics. And the Florida Panthers are in the NHL Stanley Cup Eastern Conference Finals. I believe Game 1 of that series against Carolina set for Thursday evening. So again, thank you to Kevin Rogers, WQAM Radio in Miami. That'll just about wrap it up for what has been a very busy late night edition, our Tuesday late show here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Kevin Rogers, QAM in Miami. Thank you to the High School Spotlight members tonight. You had the head coach of Bishop Kenny High School, Tim Kraus, joined us tonight here on 1010XL. Appreciate his time. And the head coach of Yulee High School, Kyle Doherty, joined us tonight. So thank you to Coach Doherty out of Yulee and Coach Kraus out of Bishop Kenny. Both schools made the playoffs in 2022. They will look to keep that success going and add to it here in 2023. And in hour number 1, my friend Brent Beard. You see him on First Coast News. You also get him right here on Hacker After Dark, as there is a ton going on in the world of college football, from Florida, Georgia, maybe moving due to the renovations that appear to be coming at TIAA Bank Field. Georgia landing another 5-star quarterback yesterday in Dylan Raiola, one of the best quarterbacks in the land for the class of 2024. And now you got the so-called Magnificent Seven: North Carolina, North Carolina State, Virginia, Virginia Tech, Clemson, Miami, and Florida State. All 7 very unhappy, reportedly, with the Atlantic Coast Conference, and maybe looking for a way to get out of the ACC. What a soap opera that potentially could become. But thank you, as always, to Brent Beard for joining us here on Hacker After Dark. We'll be back tomorrow night on a Wednesday, and we will do it all over